The Oregon Trail. I remember playing the remake of the original game back in the 80s. If you don't know, it was originally a text-only adventure game that came out in 1975. The remake that came out in 1985 added simplistic graphics to make it more entertaining. I was never a huge fan of this series as it was very repetitive. I spent most of my educational time playing Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, a geographical game where you have to solve a few hints to find a thief called Carmen Sandiego. This remake of a remake first came out for the mobile system, but it was fairly quickly ported to the Switch and the PC. It was very interactive and it improved on the graphics of when you're traveling, and it added in more events that you could run into. This whole title is about getting a party of 4 settlers to go from Missouri to Oregon. It was a real thing that would happen back in the 1800s, and this replicated that. You'll bring a wagon along to hold your supplies, and you're going to walk thousands of miles to your goal. The journey is broken up into 5 parts, and these parts are broken down again into smaller sections. These smaller sections show you the events that are going to show up. It might be hunting, fishing, scavenging for supplies, a campsite for resting, or even just a nondescript path, which could be anything. You decide which way you want to go. So if you need money or food, you go hunting or fishing. If you need repairs for your wagon or healing items, you're going to go that way. They always give you the option to skip the events if you don't want to waste energy. This game is all about watching your settlers' stats. They have 4 gauges that you're going to need to worry about, which were health, morale, stamina, and hygiene. As events happen, or as time goes by, these stats will go down. You have a limited number of supplies, so you're going to need to be careful on when you use them and on who you're going to use them on. There are also random events that will happen. Sometimes you're meeting someone, or there might be a block in the road. Or it could be just some broken bones of some of the travelers, which will temporarily lower their stats while they're hurt. People will get sick randomly, or they might get sick if you make a poor choice. One of my settlers actually got dysentery, and I made the mistake of having that person cook a meal for the group, and another person got it. The sickness will last a certain number of days, or they could die if they don't get help. In fact, you might get very unlucky in a random event, which might just randomly kill a person. That happened to me with one of my settlers. Another one died floating down a river when the wagon broke that we were floating down the river on, and they just didn't make it. Everyone's journey will be different, but the differences were very small, as the sections were very similar and it got dull after a while. Keeping your characters alive was actually engaging, but the environment was just more the same, which, while factually correct, it was kind of a drag to play. There were some mini games like hunting, where you fire in 8 directions, and depending on the animal, it could take up to 2 hits to kill it. Then you take back as much as that person could carry, and you can skin the animals with your bare hands unless you own a knife. However, you can't unlock a knife until you beat one of the pre-made journeys they have available. But more on that in a minute. There's also a fishing minigame where you throw out a line, and if it bites, you pull back. It was really very simple. In the end of the game, you have the option to take the raft down to the final city. And while it was fast, it was very easy to hit rocks. I somehow did it perfectly on my first try. I couldn't believe it. All these minigames were in the original remake, but they were updated to make it more entertaining to look at. As you're traveling, your wagon will break often, which will turn into a game of putting your objects back into your wagon. It may not fit anymore due to broken wood, so you may need to dump it unless you can fix it or adjust it with the other items. This happened way too often. I would suggest investing in wheel grease. It stops this from happening for 3 in-game days, and it was worth anything you had to pay for them, because your wagon constantly breaking was very annoying. You will occasionally meet up with other settlers on their way to Oregon as well. You can trade items with them or just talk to them if you want. If you don't want to do the huge journey to Oregon, there are pre-made quick journeys which take smaller trips that you could do as well. Some of them have unlockables. You might unlock a new class of travelers, which will give you advantages in the trades that they are proficient in. While the entire journey to Oregon from beginning to end will take about 5 hours, the smaller adventures will take about an hour, if that. So if you want to play a quick adventure, this is a good option. There's also weekly events like scouting out a railroad, which is done by playing the main game, but they give you a new option. And there's even more if you want to get the DLC this game offers. The Oregon Trail is a very interesting look at the hardships of the true story of the people who had to migrate out west to find more opportunities. After a few hours, it does get a bit repetitive in the smaller areas, but it is interesting enough to keep you going. Now this is normally $29.99, and I would say wait for it to go on sale. There is a lot of content in here, with the extra smaller journeys. Plus there's even more journeys and unlockables if you buy the DLC. The first run will be entertaining enough, but I don't think the main game has a lot of replayability factor due to the time it takes to get there. But I do think it's worth it when it's on sale.